Is we may want to run away from sex. Everybody is looking for ways to engage themselves in sexual pleasures, either physically with somebody else or probably alone as a way of masturbating, or probably by watching pornography.
Yes.
Somebody is.
Can we safely say, as a generation, we are a generation that does not understand the potential value of sexual intimacy?
Pornography is now a part of us.
Okay.
It's now a part of the society. You cannot do away pornography in today's society.
Welcome yet again to your favorite talk show. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about sex with Mr. Sextep. My name is Takunda Chikomo. Some would like to call me Mr. Sextep. And today I'm joined by yet another exciting guest, and we'll be talking about a very topical issue, the issue of pornography. So yes, please help me welcome Edson Murombedzi as we'll be talking on the issue of pornography. Mr. Murombedzi, thank you so much. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me on the talk show.
Oh yes, it's such a pleasure having you. So please let us know, without going much into detail, what do you understand by the term pornography, and what's your stance on the issue of this kind of entertainment?
Well, pornography is content that is found either on the social media or on the internet, or even in books that expresses explicitly sexual matters and sexual issues. And sometimes it's in pictorial, sometimes it's in video, and sometimes it's even written. So there are other people who depend on sex for their own sexual pleasures. So it depends with you, with what you see, but based on Christian values, they say pornography is bad, it's a no-go.
Interesting. And yet pornography remains one of the most sought after entertainment online. What in your own ways do you think pornography is affecting us as a society or as a generation?
I think one thing that we have to accept in our generation today is that pornography is now a part of us.
Okay.
It's now a part of the society. You cannot do away pornography in today's society.
Indeed.
Because one way or the other, somebody is watching sex secretly or privately. Right? So pornography has affected us in such a way that in as much as we may want to run away from sex, everybody is looking for ways to engage themselves in sexual pleasures, either physically with somebody else or probably alone as a way of masturbating, or probably by watching pornography.
Yes.
Somebody is fulfilling their sexual desires on their own. So I think pornography is a part of us in today's society. We can no longer run away from it.
Interesting. You mentioned that somebody might be depending on that, but are there not cases of people who are being trafficked as sex slaves and then they later on appear in pornography videos? Don't you think this in a way is affecting our society negatively?
It is affecting us negatively because remember, the people who are trafficked they are trafficked under the pretense of having a job, probably in a certain country or probably in a certain place.
Indeed.
Or probably education. They will be promised funding for education at a prestigious university. However, when they go there, they realize that was a scam, and then they have to start engaging in sexual activities in order to gain a living. Probably they'll be in a foreign land.
Out of necessity.
Out of necessity. So you can't say that person has got an option, because the only thing that has been brought on the table is doing sex so that he or she can get money, and moreover, he or she is in a foreign land.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Interesting. It still remains more and more children, especially as infants, are being exposed to pornography at very tender ages. Do you think as a society we are failing to deal with this issue of pornography effectively?
I wouldn't say as a society we are failing to deal with pornography. I think it's a matter of choice. After all, there is content that contains pornographic material, and there is one that doesn't contain any pornographic material. So it's a matter of a choice. Whether your guardian wants you to, sometimes you would realize that amongst young children, pornography is mainly perpetrated through music. You would realize that some of the music that some of our kids they listen to, some of the lyrics that they sing to, they contain pornographic materials, they contain sexually explicit words.
Indeed.
Right. So you'd realize that young kids, they are being exposed to sex at a very tender age, and when that person grows, sex has become a normal thing, whereas to the previous generation, sex was something that was sacred, something that was for you to talk about it at a young age. I would say it was an abomination by then. So as a society, for us to deal, we have to go back to the basics. We have to cut the line between exposing our kids to sexually explicit material and to what I would say material that doesn't contain anything that has to do with sex.
Speaking on the issue of indulgence, so can we safely say as a generation, we are a generation that does not understand the potential value of sexual intimacy?
I would say we underestimate the potential value of sexual intimacy.
Okay.
Some of us, we may engage in pornography, in pornographic materials, exposing ourselves to pornographic materials without understanding how much impact it can have on our lives, how much impact it can have upon your behavior as a person. So it's an issue of underestimating, because you realize that somebody will be saying, I'm just watching, I'm just entertaining myself, I've got nothing to do, or probably it's out of peer pressure. But then out of the peer pressure and then seeing and watching and listening to the pornographic materials, you end up arousing your own feelings as a person on your own by watching and listening and reading. You end up arousing your own feelings such that you get to an extent that if you don't find somebody to sleep with, you end up sleeping with yourself, masturbating.
Yes, thank you so much. Welcome back to your favorite show. Let's talk about sex with Mr. Sextep. We are still talking on the issue of pornography, and I'm joined by my dear friend Mr. Edson Murombedzi, as we'll be talking about the issue of pornography as it is rampant in our society. So we need to understand what the youths are saying and what the youths think on this issue of pornography. Mr. Murombedzi, once again, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much.
So, as a young adult, I'll then come to you and say, I have derived good sexual positions or acts from watching pornography. Can I use this safely as an excuse for watching pornography?
Thank you very much. That's the excuse that most for young people are using these days. They are deriving sexual positions from pornography, which is what I would say is something that's actually happening. And I think at some point it would help you, because really going into sex when you don't know what you're going to do in the sex act, I don't really think it would be a very good experience for you.
So, are you saying pornography has replaced Shinamwali or any of those aunties and uncles that we used to have back in the day?
Definitely, pornography has replaced some of them. Even some of the aunties today, they don't even teach our daughters and our brothers those things. So the only source of information that you'd get such things is through pornography and in the internet.
Let me get personal. As you're an individual, what have you ever derived any sexual positions or acts from pornography yourself?
I wouldn't want to lie. I've come across pornography at one point, and I have seen some positions.
Indeed.
So I would want to say I haven't derived. I have seen some positions that I think.
So from a perspective of cognizance, how would you say pornography alters one's approach to real sexual engagement?
Okay, pornography now alters one's approach to real sexual engagement in that you already have your view of how you are going to have sex before going into sex. So, in other words, you're saying you're already having sex with the person before you are actually having sex physically with that person. So you'll be busy having all the positions, and sometimes you raise your hopes very high that if I do this position with this person is supposed to behave in such a way. And if they don't behave in such a way now during the sexual activity, during the sexual intercourse, then it becomes a problem to you, because you won't get the real satisfaction as you're expecting, as you saw in the video or whatever that you read. Sometimes you may imagine, if you are reading books, you may imagine a sexual position as from the literature material that you're reading.
Indeed.
And when it comes to the real thing, you may fail to even do it yourself. And then you might end up probably disappointing the other people.
So can we safely say pornography is creating an alternate reality which does not exist, but it's faking it and disturbing the way that we see sexual engagement?
I think pornography is creating a mirage of sex. People are having sex with themselves.
Wow. Interesting. And then moving on to the last question. Someone may say, I do not watch pornography because it's disgusting, but I do read news and books. I still read literature which might have pornography. In your own understanding, what do you think is the difference between a person who says I watch pornography and then another person who says I just read about it?
I think there's no difference. They are just the same.
They are just the same.
It's only that the other one is going visual and the other one is decided to
use another media.
Yeah, another media. It's just different media that you.
Let's say the government were to legalize pornographic material, probably the government of Zimbabwe. When do you say is the proper age for one to properly engage in sexual activity or in pornographic material?
I don't really have a proper age to say one has to be is now allowed to watch pornographic material. But what I would say is, if it's possible, they have to limit the intensity of the content, because you never know what your kid is doing on the web.
Indeed.
You may give your phone to your kid and then he accesses those sites. Indeed. But if he uses his phone, probably you have put up a family lock and he cannot access those. So I would say they would limit the intensity. But however, the issue of intensity at times is debatable, because as a grown-up, you'd say, I want more stronger stuff. I want more stronger stuff.
Yes.
So it's just a matter of teaching our children that this thing is bad. The ball then goes into their court to choose whether to watch or not to watch.
Interesting. You've spoken of more intense stuff. As I noticed with watching more pornographic material, you always want more content which is more erotic, which helps you in a more arousal manner.
Yes.
Do you not think that overindulgence in pornography is leading to addictions which we may not be able to deal with in the future, especially even as adults?
I've met some people who were actually saying, who were testifying that they were once addicted, that they were once addicted to pornography. So I would say overindulgence in pornography is going to leave you in an addiction that you might not be able to deal with alone, especially if you are shy to come out of your own shell and then tell the world that you are an addict of pornography.
Interesting. So any final words? Probably there might be someone who might be watching this show and thinking to themselves, I am addicted to pornographic material, but I need help. I don't want to continue indulging in pornographic material. How can you possibly give them advice in your own words?
I would say they should seek advice from professionals. There are some people who are very good at giving advice and monitoring people who were once addicts of pornography. And I think it's also an issue of decision making and commitment. If you say you no longer want to be a porn addict, you have to go for it. It's not going to be an easy road, but you have to try by all means to live up to what you have decided for your own life.
Wow, Mr. Murombedzi, thank you so much for coming to this show and sharing your 2 cents on this. It's really informative and it's really helpful. This is your most favorite show. Let's talk about sex with me, your guy, Mr. Sextep. And as you have been seeing, I was joined today on the desk by Mr. Murombedzi, and we were talking about the issue of pornography. Do not forget to share any views that you might have below on the comment section, and even also share your likes and comments and subscribe to our channel for even more greater content, which is fun and engaging just like this. My name is Takunda Chikomo, and this is your show. Let's talk about sex with Mr. Sextep. Like I always say, always remember to count your blessings and do not forget to annihilate the status quo. Until we meet again next time, ciao. Right, as we always say every day, this is the show that you know udza vanhu singaoneki, right? Ngoma munonyagona kunyatsoti right.
hazvoti vanhu vanenge vachiita sex vari pabonde.
Ko why is it tikunyanya kuti most of your age ndo vanhu vari kunyanya vatiri kunyanya vari vachinyanya mafuta?
Vamwe vacho magetoita vanenge vatoni chikara neketi zvoti ichi havatombozvikwanisi samwe mukoma.
So inini munganyanyoti vanhu vari kunyanyotera chii pamaprograms?
Vanenge vachitera dongonakidzwa nekungodosa kufana.
Alright, tabva tauya mune chimwe chirongwa.